Step back in time and rediscover the classic Memorial Day foods that brought families together. These dishes once filled picnic tables across America, each bite a tradition, each meal a memory. Few smells capture the start of summer quite like grilled hamburgers on a charcoal flame. Back in the day, these weren't gourmet brioche burgers with aioli. They were hand-formed patties, seasoned simply with salt and pepper, then sizzled over backyard grills until juicy and browned. Served on white buns with ketchup, mustard, and maybe a pickle slice, these burgers were the centerpiece of countless Memorial Day cookouts. Dads manned the grill while kids ran barefoot across lawns, and the scent of meat smoke signaled that summer had officially begun. Add a slice of American cheese if you were lucky, or if someone remembered to grab it from the icebox. Today's burgers come in a million variations, but these humble originals were the true start of the backyard barbecue era. Memorial Day wasn't just about honoring the fallen. It was about family, freedom, and flipping burgers under the open sky. One bite, and you were home. Nothing says old-school Memorial Day like a hot dog nestled in a soft bun, topped with tangy sauerkraut or bright yellow mustard. In the post-war years, hot dogs were affordable, quick to cook, and perfect for feeding a crowd. Whether steamed, grilled, or boiled on the stovetop, they showed up at nearly every backyard picnic or town gathering. Sauerkraut brought that lip-puckering zing, while mustard gave it that unmistakable kick. No gourmet toppings needed. Kids and adults alike grabbed them hot off the grill, with paper plates in one hand and lemonade in the other. Some families even made a game out of topping them. Who could make the best combo with what was on hand? While hot dogs today come in every variety imaginable, these classic versions, with their briny bite and backyard smoke, are hard to beat. And on Memorial Day, they weren't just food, they were tradition on a bun. Sticky, smoky, and falling off the bone, barbecue spare ribs were a slow-cooked labor of love at old-fashioned Memorial Day gatherings. Back when families spent the whole day together outdoors, spare ribs were often the star of the table. Dads or uncles would spend hours basting and turning racks over low heat, using homemade sauces with brown sugar, ketchup, vinegar, and maybe a splash of whiskey. Guests would arrive to the smell of sweet smoke drifting through the air. When it came time to eat, everyone grabbed a napkin, well, a stack, and dove in. Faces and fingers coated in sauce, people didn't care about the mess. It was about flavor, family, and celebration. These ribs weren't fancy. They were tender, tangy, and cooked with patience and pride. Today, they might be reserved for barbecue joints or food festivals, but back then, they were made right in the backyard. Memorial Day was never sweeter or stickier. Coming up next, the sandwiches, fried favorites, and side dishes that made Memorial Day meals feel like a family reunion on a paper plate. In small towns and southern backyards, pulled pork sandwiches were the pride of the Memorial Day table. The pork shoulder or butt would be slow cooked for hours, sometimes overnight, until it was tender enough to fall apart with a fork. Then it was shredded, doused in tangy barbecue sauce, and heaped onto soft hamburger buns or white sandwich bread. Often served with a side of coleslaw, either on the plate or right on top of the meat, the sandwich was messy, smoky, and absolutely unforgettable. Each bite carried the labor of love behind it. Some uncle checking the smoker at dawn, someone's grandpa spooning secret recipe sauce over the meat. Pulled pork was more than just a dish. It was a centerpiece, a conversation starter, and a way to feed everyone on a budget. Today, we might find it in trendy food trucks, but its soul still lives on in those old-school gatherings where community, conversation, and barbecue ruled the day. Not every Memorial Day meal was beef or pork. For many families, grilled chicken glazed with barbecue sauce was the dependable favorite, especially when cooking for big groups. Bone-in chicken thighs and drumsticks were marinated or seasoned with salt and pepper, then grilled low and slow. The barbecue sauce came on last, brushed on as the flames gently charred the edges, sealing in flavor with a caramelized glaze. The smell was unmistakable, sweet, smoky, and just a little spicy. It wasn't about gourmet cuts or complex techniques, just honest, flavorful chicken cooked outdoors with love. Kids grabbed legs with sticky fingers, and moms passed out extra napkins. Even the leftovers were prized. Cold chicken the next day was a picnic all its own. In a time before takeout and meal delivery apps, grilled chicken on Memorial Day meant the family was together. The grill was hot, and the day was about more than the food. It was about who you shared it with. Which one of these barbecue classics made it to your family's Memorial Day table? spare ribs, pulled pork, or sticky grilled chicken? Let us know your favorite memory in the comments below. If your Memorial Day meal came with a big crowd and limited prep time, Sloppy Joes were your savior. Ground beef simmered in a sweet and savory tomato-based sauce, spooned generously onto hamburger buns. It was messy, delicious, and somehow perfect for a paper plate. Moms often made the sauce from scratch with ketchup, Worcestershire, onions, and brown sugar. Though store-bought mixes like Manwich made the job quicker in the 70s and 80s. The name said it all: sloppy to eat, but so satisfying that no one cared. Napkins were essential, and second helpings were expected. Kids loved the slightly sweet sauce, while adults added hot sauce or pickles for extra zing. Sloppy Joes were a practical, crowd-pleasing option that still felt festive and filling. And if you brought them to the park or beach in a crock-pot, even better. These saucy sandwiches may not have the glam of ribs or chicken, but they had heart and a permanent place in old-school summer cookouts. Now that we've tackled the meats, let's head over to the sides and salads, the colorful bowls that brought every Memorial Day spread to life. No Memorial Day table was complete without a big bowl of potato salad, often made the night before and chilled to perfection. The classic version featured tender boiled potatoes, chopped celery for crunch, diced onions, hard-boiled eggs, and a creamy dressing of mayonnaise blended with yellow mustard. The flavor? Tangy, cool, and slightly sweet. Some families added relish or pickles. Others kept it plain and simple. It was always served cold, often in glass or Tupperware bowls, passed around with plastic spoons at family picnics or park potlucks. Aunt Mildred's version might differ from Grandma's, but everyone had an opinion on what made the best batch. Served next to burgers, ribs, or fried chicken, potato salad cooled down the heat of summer and the spice of barbecue. It wasn't flashy, but it was dependable, like that old picnic table with the uneven leg. Potato salad was a staple for good reason: creamy comfort, made to share. A true retro favorite, macaroni salad with peas and ham, was the cold pasta dish that held its own at any Memorial Day feast. Made with elbow macaroni, diced ham, sweet green peas, and a generous coating of mayo, sometimes with a hint of vinegar or mustard. It brought creamy comfort and a pop of color to picnic spreads. Unlike today's pasta salads with pesto or sun-dried tomatoes, this one leaned into hearty simplicity. It could be made in advance, chilled in the fridge, and scooped out in generous helpings. Moms loved it because it was budget-friendly and fed a crowd. Kids loved it because, well, peas and ham are a surprisingly fun combo. Sometimes shredded cheese or diced pickles made their way in, depending on who was cooking. Like a musical background track to summer conversation, macaroni salad was always there. Unassuming, but essential. It made paper plates feel full, bellies feel satisfied, and memories feel just a little warmer. Tangy, crunchy, and cold, coleslaw was the refreshing side that balanced out all the meaty main dishes. Whether creamy or vinegar-based, the core was always the same: finely shredded cabbage, sometimes mixed with carrots, and tossed with a sweet and sour dressing that zinged on the tongue. On Memorial Day, coleslaw was as common as ketchup. It paired beautifully with fried chicken, pulled pork, or ribs, and often showed up as a topping on sandwiches too. Some families had secret slaw recipes passed down in scribbled cards or memory alone. Whether scooped from a Tupperware bowl or served in Dixie cups at church picnics, coleslaw was a palate cleanser and a plate filler all in one. It wasn't fancy, but it added freshness to an otherwise heavy meal. And when the sun was hot and the grill was smoking, that cool, crisp bite of slaw was pure relief. You didn't just eat it, you were grateful for it. Next up, the iconic picnic treats and party platters that kept guests snacking between sips of sweet tea and lemonade. A fixture of potlucks and picnics, three-bean salad was an old-school favorite that added both color and tang to the Memorial Day spread. It featured green beans, wax beans, and kidney beans tossed in a sweet tart vinaigrette, often with slivers of onion and maybe a few bell peppers for added crunch. Served cold and best when made a day ahead, it was the dish that never spoiled in the sun and always had guests coming back for seconds. Its bright vinegar-based dressing offered a contrast to heavy barbecue fare, making it the sleeper hit of the buffet table. Grandma always brought it in a giant glass bowl, and there was usually a bit left over for sandwiches the next day. It was one of those you didn't expect to love it, but you always did kinds of dishes. Long before kale salads or quinoa bowls, 3-bean salad ruled the picnic, quietly, reliably, and with a whole lot of flavor. Which classic salad made your Memorial Day plate feel complete? Potato, macaroni, coleslaw, or the mighty bean salad? Share your favorite in the comments. We'd love to hear your family's secret ingredient. No dish traveled better to a Memorial Day gathering than a tray of deviled eggs. Halved hard-boiled eggs, their yolks whipped with mayo, mustard, and a hint of relish or paprika, were the darling of every family picnic. Placed neatly on special egg trays, usually the glass kind your grandma had forever, these bite-sized treats disappeared within minutes of being unwrapped. They were elegant without trying to be, easy to make in big batches, and beloved by nearly everyone. Kids popped them like candy, while adults hovered by the tray, trying to be polite while eyeing the last one. Some families added a splash of vinegar or a sprinkle of dill, making the recipe uniquely theirs. In a time before artisan appetizers and store-bought platters, deviled eggs were the original finger food of love and effort. On Memorial Day, they weren't just eggs. They were edible reminders that the simplest things, done right, never go out of style. Cornbread wasn't just a Southern staple. It was a picnic essential during Memorial Day weekends gone by. Golden, crumbly, and sometimes just a little sweet. It was served warm if you were lucky, or wrapped in foil and eaten cold with butter melting in the sun. Moms often made it in cast iron pans, crisping the edges just right. Some recipes called for a touch of sugar, others for creamed corn or jalapenos. It paired perfectly with pulled pork, barbecue ribs, or a spoonful of baked beans. Even if the main dish was simple, cornbread made it feel like a feast. It was especially popular at potlucks and church picnics, where someone always brought a giant square tray of it, cut into neat rectangles that never lasted long. Cornbread carried the flavors of home, of heritage, and of humble generosity. On Memorial Day, it brought texture, heart, and a little crumbly joy to every paper plate it touched. Coming up, the picnic baskets and kids' plates wouldn't be complete without these nostalgic snack time staples, served with napkins, smiles, and maybe a sticky face or two. A refreshing surprise on warm Memorial Days in the South, watermelon salad with feta and mint became a modern classic long before it ever showed up on trendy menus. Slices of juicy watermelon were cubed and tossed with crumbled feta cheese, fresh mint leaves, and a splash of lime juice. It was sweet, salty, crisp, and cool. Everything you craved after a smoky barbecue plate. Often served in big glass bowls, the salad looked as vibrant as it tasted. Some families added cucumbers or a drizzle of olive oil, but the simple version was just as good. This dish was especially beloved by moms and aunts who wanted something lighter among the meat-heavy lineup. It also became a go-to contribution at potlucks, a refreshing contrast to heavier fare. Watermelon was always part of the day, but this salad made it feel a little fancier, a little grown up. And when the sun was blazing, it was summer salvation on a fork. Mini sausages wrapped in crescent roll dough. Pigs in a blanket were the fun finger food every kid, and secretly every adult, hoped to see on the Memorial Day snack table. Whether served with mustard, ketchup, or cheese dip, these warm, flaky bites were easy to grab and even easier to love. Moms would make dozens ahead of time and reheat them in foil trays right before the guests arrived. They were especially popular at neighborhood block parties, where kids ran wild with sticky fingers and full mouths. Some versions used puff pastry for an extra crunch. Others had a slice of American cheese tucked inside. They weren't fancy, but they were full of charm and childhood glee. You didn't need a grill or a smoker, just an oven, a can of dough, and a pack of little Franks. At the table, they disappeared faster than anything else. Pigs in a blanket were pure joy. No explanation needed. Before kale chips and hummus, there was the unbeatable combo of potato chips with onion dip, a salty, crunchy, creamy staple of backyard gatherings everywhere. The chips, often ruffled or kettle-cooked, poured into big plastic bowls. The dip, a packet of onion soup mix stirred into sour cream, chilled and ready for dunking. No frills, no nonsense, just flavor and familiarity. Kids double-dipped, adults hovered nearby, and someone always ended up scooping the last bit of dip with a broken chip shard. It was addictive in the best way. Set out early in the day, this combo kept everyone satisfied until the main dishes hit the grill. Sometimes extra ingredients got stirred in, chives, bacon bits, or even hot sauce. but the original was nearly perfect. Long before charcuterie boards became a thing, this was how you welcomed guests. A big bowl of chips, a cool dish of dip, and a napkin tucked in your collar. Which snack or side made your Memorial Day special? Pigs in a blanket, deviled eggs, or classic onion dip and chips? Tell us which one brings back the most memories in the comments. Every Memorial Day cookout had one guaranteed menu item for the littlest guests: peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Cut into triangles or halved down the middle, these sandwiches were packed in plastic baggies or lined up neatly on a paper plate just for the kids. No crusts? Even better. Moms prepped them early, knowing that not every child loved barbecue or coleslaw. They were easy, cheap, and familiar. Comfort food at its most innocent. Sometimes they were made with white bread and grape jelly, other times with wheat and strawberry preserves. But the formula was the same: simple, sweet, and satisfying. As grown-ups passed around ribs and potato salad, kids munched happily on PB&Js, maybe with a juice box nearby and potato chips crumbled inside for crunch. Even adults would sneak one when no one was looking. Today's kids might favor nuggets or pizza, but back then, peanut butter and jelly meant you were fed, loved, and free to run wild. Before elaborate grazing boards were trendy, Memorial Day offered a simple, irresistible snack combo: pretzel sticks or crackers served with cheese dip. Whether it was a jar of store-bought cheese spread, a block of Velveeta melted down, or a homemade pimento cheese, this salty, savory pairing kept everyone snacking. Kids loved the crunch. Adults appreciated the ease. Trays were passed around while burgers grilled, or bowls of dip sat on folding tables alongside stacks of napkins. Some families added chopped green onions or spices to fancy things up, but even the basic versions disappeared quickly. Pretzels were also great for kids because they could be held with messy fingers and eaten on the go. For many, this combo was the first thing you grabbed when you arrived, and the last thing you reached for before the desserts came out. In a world of charcuterie cons and imported brie, this humble duo still wins hearts, one scoop at a time. As the sun dipped low on Memorial Day, apple pie with vanilla ice cream signaled the sweet end of the celebration. The pie, made with tart apples, cinnamon, and flaky homemade crust, was baked earlier in the day or brought by someone who had the best recipe in town. Served slightly warm, a big scoop of vanilla ice cream melted slowly over each slice, creating a mix of cold cream and hot spice that no one could resist. This wasn't just dessert, it was Americana on a plate. Flags waved in the yard, laughter echoed from porches, and that first forkful felt like both dessert and ceremony. Some pies were double-crusted, others had crumb tops, and a few even featured cheddar cheese on the side. New England traditions. But no matter the variation, apple pie was the undisputed king of nostalgic Memorial Day desserts. Sweet, simple, and proudly homemade. It tasted like freedom with every bite. Now that we've set the table with snacks and sweets, let's dive into the treats that made kids squeal, grandmas smile, and every Memorial Day feel like summer had officially begun. Bright, jiggly, and always a conversation starter, Jell-O with fruit pieces was the retro dessert that popped up at every classic Memorial Day picnic. Whether it was cherry, lime, orange, or strawberry, the gelatin was often filled with slices of banana, chunks of canned pineapple, or halved grapes suspended mid-jiggle like edible confetti. Served in molded rings or square blocks cut from baking dishes, Jell-O desserts sat proud on tables alongside pies and cookies. Some versions had whipped topping, others a dollop of Cool Whip or cottage cheese folded right in. Kids were fascinated. Adults saw it as tradition, and at every gathering someone always asked, "Who made the Jell-O?" It wasn't about gourmet flair, it was about color, nostalgia, and fun. With every spoonful, you tasted sweetness, sunshine, and a little whimsy. Today, gelatin molds may be rarer, but back then, no Memorial Day was complete without at least one dish that giggled when you poked it. Fresh strawberries, sweet sponge cake, and a generous cloud of whipped cream. Strawberry shortcake was the dessert that made Memorial Day feel downright magical. The strawberries were often sliced and sugared early in the day to create a juicy syrup, then spooned over tender biscuit-style cakes, or those little store-bought sponge shells with the indented centers. Homemade whipped cream topped it all off, or in a pinch, a squirt of Reddi-wip would do. Served chilled on paper plates with plastic forks, it was messy in the best way. Syrup dribbled, cream melted, and second helpings were common. This dessert didn't just satisfy a sweet tooth, It celebrated the season. It was one of the first signs that summer had officially arrived. Grandmas might have baked the biscuits from scratch, or dads might have grabbed a quick shortcut from the store. But no matter how it came together, strawberry shortcake delivered smiles, sugar highs, and sunshine in every bite. Was your Memorial Day dessert table more about Jell-O fun, fruit-filled shortcake, or that all-American apple pie? Drop your favorite in the comments and let us know what topped your holiday plate. Warm, gooey, and golden, peach cobbler was the rustic dessert that made Memorial Day dinners feel like something out of a country song. Fresh or canned peaches were tossed with sugar and cinnamon, then topped with buttery biscuit dough or cake batter and baked until bubbling and fragrant. Served warm, sometimes with a scoop of vanilla ice cream, it was the kind of dessert that disappeared fast, especially when Aunt Betty brought her cast-iron skillet version. Cobbler didn't aim for perfection. It was lumpy, juicy, and proudly homemade. No two batches ever tasted exactly the same, and that was part of its charm. Often brought to family reunions, church picnics, or neighborhood potlucks, peach cobbler was less about presentation and more about soul. Each bite was sunshine, sweetness, and a nod to simpler times. Today's desserts might be plated with precision, but back then, this sticky, spoon-served favorite was pure joy, and every spoonful felt like a sweet hug from the past. Snap, crackle, pop, and a whole lot of nostalgia. Rice Krispies treats were the no-bake wonders of Memorial Day cookouts, made from just marshmallows, butter, and breakfast cereal. They were quick, easy, and a guaranteed crowd pleaser. Kids loved them because they were sticky, sweet, and fun to eat. Parents loved them because they didn't require an oven or fancy ingredients. You'd find them cut into squares on paper plates, wrapped in wax paper for park picnics, or stacked high in Tupperware containers at family potluck. Sometimes they were topped with chocolate drizzle, sprinkles, or peanut butter swirls. Other times, they stayed delightfully simple. They were the perfect blend of crispy and chewy, and maybe a little messy too. Long before Pinterest treats and Instagram-worthy desserts, Rice Krispies treats were the gold standard for homemade fun. One bite, and you were transported back to childhood summers filled with sunburns, sprinkler runs, and sticky fingers. On Memorial Day, they were more than dessert. They were tradition. Few things said home like chocolate chip cookies, especially when they came tucked in an old-fashioned tin box. Baked with love the day before Memorial Day, these soft, chewy, or sometimes crispy classics were carefully packed to survive the trip to the park, beach, or family barbecue. The tins, often reused from holiday gift sets, helped keep the cookies fresh and safe from getting squished. Moms and grandmas guarded their cookie recipes like treasure, with just the right balance of brown sugar, vanilla, and chocolate chips. Some batches included nuts, others were strictly kid-friendly. You could smell them before the lid even popped off. And once opened, the cookies disappeared faster than ants on a picnic blanket. Today, cookies come in boxes, bags, or bakeries. But back then, the tin box meant something personal. It meant someone cared enough to bake. A cookie pulled from one of those tins wasn't just a treat. It was a piece of family wrapped in sweetness. While not a food, no Memorial Day list would be complete without homemade lemonade, the ice-cold drink that kept everyone cool, refreshed, and coming back for more. Lemons were squeezed by hand, sugar stirred in until just right, and pitchers chilled with clinking ice cubes and floating lemon slices. Some versions had a splash of mint. Others leaned sweet or tart, depending on the family recipe. It was poured into plastic cups, mason jars, or even ladled from coolers at large gatherings. Kids sometimes set up lemonade stands at the curb, raising a few coins while learning a lesson in pride and patience. On hot afternoons, nothing hit the spot like that citrusy sip. Today, bottled drinks dominate, but homemade lemonade still stands as a reminder that the best things in life take just a little effort and a lot of love. It quenched thirst, sure, but it also refreshed hearts and spirit, one sunny glass at a time. And now, one last dish that wrapped up Memorial Day with warmth, flavor, and enough sweetness to make you forget the sunburns and scrapes. Every Memorial Day table needed a showstopper, and for many families that was the flag-themed sheet cake. Baked in a rectangular pan and decorated to resemble the American flag, this festive dessert doubled as both centerpiece and crowd pleaser. The base was usually vanilla or yellow cake, topped with whipped cream or Cool Whip. Blueberries formed the stars, while rows of sliced strawberries created the red stripe. Sometimes piped frosting added extra flair, but often simplicity made it even more charming. This cake wasn't about precision, it was about patriotism, celebration, and family effort. Kids helped arrange the fruit, proudly pointing out their flag before the first slice was served. It was refreshing, light, and always the first dessert to vanish. Today's desserts might lean toward trends and tears, but this one was pure heart, made with love, eaten with pride, and always remembered. On Memorial Day, that little flag cake reminded everyone exactly why they'd gathered, together, grateful and full. Which of these nostalgic dishes or desserts would you bring back to your Memorial Day celebration? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear what your family remembers most. I hope you enjoyed this flavorful trip through Memorial Day's delicious past. Which classic dish sparked your favorite memory? Keep the tradition alive and pass it on. Until next time,